Thanks, guys, for coming. We'll go ahead and get started. Yeah, thanks for coming. I know it takes a lot out of your busy school schedule. I know you're in the thick of it, so we really appreciate you being here. First of all, my name is Sam. I'm one of the emerging talent recruiters with Electronic Arts. I'll kind of get into what that means in just a second. But just to start off, some of the big titles that are coming out either have already come out, about to come out, as the bottom left. Big week for EA and the Battlefield Studios is what we call them. There's a lot riding on this game, to be honest. From the previous iteration of Battlefield to all of the success that we know it can do and it can be, it's going to be something. We'll see this Friday. It's coming out this Friday for those of you who don't know. But let me just quick show of hands. Who has not heard of Electronic Arts? Not heard? Anybody not heard of EA? That's awesome, because I would have had to kick you out, because everyone knows EA at some point in their life, whether you grew up playing it, whether you currently play it. Our titles are well known around the world, and really excited to be here to share with all you guys. So I do have a quick gameplay trailer of the new Battlefield that is coming out, Battlefield 6. It's coming out on Friday. I do apologize. This has cursing in it, so I do apologize in advance. But yeah, please enjoy. Oh yeah, give it up. Yeah, give it up. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry, I don't want to play it again. 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. Oh. Let's see. Oh. I don't know how to get it back to slideshow. There we go. All right. Yeah. Like I said, the Battlefield Studios, comprising of a local studio here in Ripple Effect, Motive, who's worked on the previous Dead Space games, and DICE, who's located in Sweden. They're all working collectively to work on this next Battlefield game. And whether you like first-person shooters or not, it looks pretty sick. So I will say we're really excited about that. But I'm here. Again, my name is Sam. I'm one of the emerging talent recruiters. I'm here to talk about internships with EA And thank you for those joining online. I know you couldn't be here, but thanks for joining nonetheless. But yeah, my name is Sam. Emerging talent, that is essentially what we call internships and early career roles. We used to be known as next gen talent, but we kind of thought collectively emerging talent is kind of this next wave of students, incoming talent that we want to speak to in terms of speaking on our internship, speaking on the roles that we have coming up, and what better way, a perfect opportunity to come to schools such as Woodbury and speak to you guys. I don't have necessarily a certain domain that I recruit for. They gave me a lot of roles, a lot of internships in particular for this season. I'll get into a little bit of what kind of roles we do recruit for as far as internships. But yeah, it's very nice to be here with you all. First of all, I just want to show you guys our mission. As you may or may not have heard, our mission, we inspire the world to play. And that is, I'm not going to read the whole mission statement, but that is essentially our tagline at EA, is we inspire the world to play, whether that be with your friends, with your coworkers, with family members. I think a lot of us during the pandemic, we really connected in that way. And I think EA's mission is to kind of connect people in that manner and have us all be connected through play. And I think that's really important. In life, I think it's very meaningful to have some sort of entertainment and some sort of connection through play. So yeah, whether if you've played our sports titles, our first-person shooters, our fantasy action role-playing games, our mobile games, it spreads a wide variety of types of games, and I'm sure, as you may have heard of EA, I'm sure you've played a title at some point in your life. The first thing I want to just discuss with you all is kind of the details of our internships. Has anyone, raise of hands, has anyone had an internship before? Has anyone landed an internship, or a few of you? Has anyone applied with EA? Has anyone applied with EA? No apply? Okay, all right, just one of you. Our internships may be a little different than others, and vice versa. Their internships may be a little different than EA, but we're just here to kind of give you the rundown on what to expect if you were to land an internship with Electronic Arts. First of all, it is 12 weeks during the summer. Currently for the United States, we only offer summer internships in the form, summer internships for the United States. The dates are listed up there. So for this upcoming internship season, which is summer of 2026, I know it's obviously October 2025, but by the time you know it, it's going to be next year, and you're going to be looking for an internship. So we're kind of starting that relationship now. So as you may see, the internship duration's 12 weeks. It runs from either May 18th till August 7th, and then June 22nd till September 11th. So we do have two cohorts, essentially, to account for anyone who's on the quarter system versus a semester system. I'm not sure if Woodbury is on which semester or quarter? Semester? Okay, great. Then I'm assuming you'd probably be May start. So just kind of account for different school schedules during the summer. And then as far as the eligibility goes for our internships, so one thing to note is that in order to be eligible for an internship, you must be able to return to school the following semester after your internship is over. So in other words, you must be enrolled in classes after your internship is over. So that means you cannot graduate before December of 2026. So if unfortunately you're graduating or anticipated to graduate in May of 2026 or June of 2026, unfortunately you would not be eligible for an internship. And then we do offer, if anyone is pursuing their master's degree, we do offer master's level internships. It just needs to be specified as such on the job description. Usually on the job title, it would say master's level internship. But there is a difference between an undergraduate and a master's level internship with EA, but we do offer master's level. Unfortunately, I don't have any knowledge of any new, if anyone's, is anyone a new grad? Anybody not currently in school? No? Okay. For those of you who are about to graduate or not eligible for an internship, we do have new graduate roles, early career roles. I just don't know of any currently because I'm responsible for the internship program for next year. But yeah, you can always connect with me. I'll give you my contact info so we can connect at a later date to kind of see what other early career roles that we have. And as far as the location for the internships, so we do have various studios around the states, as listed to the right up there. We unfortunately do not offer remote internships anymore. We used to, but we're kind of pushing, some of you may have heard, a return to office, so you do need to be in commutable distance to the studio or to at least one of the studios. So specifically here in LA, we actually have two, for those of you who don't know. One of them is the Respawn studio. Respawn is, they're based in Chatsworth, so it's kind of, just take the, is the 118 over here? Or, yeah. So you just take the 118, go to Chatsworth that way, go west. And yeah, they're primarily responsible for, the Apex Legends series, Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. There's also a third one coming out. That's public knowledge. But yeah, and also there's a Del Rey office, which is on the west side. The Ripple Effect studio is based out of there. Also some finance teams, also some legal teams as well. So as far as location of your internship, you do need to be in commutable distance to one of the studios, and we do require you to be in office at least 3 days a week, with the opportunity of 2 days of remote. All right. And as far as the salary goes for internships, all EA internships are paid. So that is, a bonus in addition to working with one of the biggest game studios in the world. But all internships are paid. And other internships may offer, the experience of working for a big company, but we are paid, and you do get to work alongside with some of the greatest, not even video game developers, but some of the greatest people in the industry. And I will say for our internships, I've heard other things about other internship programs, but you do get to work on things that are relevant to what the team is working on. They're not going to give you some side project, and they're not going to give you some thing to do on the side. They're actually going to have you work alongside with them in whatever projects they do assign to you. So for what that's worth, it's paid, and it's a really cool place to work. And like I said, if you're just browsing the careers site, their careers site is ea.com/careers/students, and that's kind of a way to look at all the roles that we have available, whether they're internships or early career. All of them are or will be or are posted on the careers site. So, all right, great. And these are just some of the internships, some of the domains or the types of internships that we do offer. Every year is different as far as the internships that we do offer because of the different needs of the studio, what the team is currently working on. So they may not need an intern specifically for a certain group. But these are just generally some of the main groups that we do offer internships through. Our internships, we're trying to open all of them by the end of the month. So they're kind of opening on a rolling basis, and we're still trying to kind of nail down the details of location and kind of job scope of what the internships will look like. But I'll have a sign-up form or an information form for you guys to fill out so we can kind of match you up with the internships that will be opening soon. All right. In addition to kind of speaking to you guys on the internship program, I also like to give application, resume, and interview tips. For those of you who are, I know, applying for a job or thinking about applying for a job is a really daunting thing. And it is. I mean, me thinking about being in school and applying and interviewing, that's really scary, especially if you haven't done it before. But raise of hands, who's interviewed before? Who has participated in interviews? Pretty much most of you, okay. I'm sure you guys can admit, interviewing is tough. It requires like a different set of skill set that you're just literally being asked questions about you and your background. So I'm just here, you can take everything with a grain of salt that I say. You know, everything in life will be, there'll be a lot of advice that you guys get, and if you want to take my advice, that's awesome. If you want to take your professor's advice, that's awesome. But if something doesn't align with what you feel or the advice that you're given by me, I should have a disclaimer up there, but you know, I think these are useful tips, but you know, it's your education, it's your career, so these are just some of the things that I do see as a recruiter looking at resumes all day. Just a couple of tips and tricks. So first thing is connect the dots. And what we mean by that is to craft your resume in a way that highlights your past experience or highlight the skills and projects. So we understand that you guys may not have a lot of quote unquote like experience or work experience, but that's okay. Like when we're looking at resumes, when we're qualifying different students, we're not looking for work experience necessarily. We're looking for your courses, your projects, any side projects that you've been working on that will help you stand out versus those who apply and don't necessarily have the project experience or the different coursework. You guys, I don't know what your majors are, but I'm assuming a lot of you are game design students. So a lot of your schoolwork kind of coincides with what will be worked on during the internship. So that really helps you a lot. Some students work on it as like a leisure activity, some don't, but I think it's those types of things that really help your resume stand out. The second tip is to make your portfolio or website accessible. There's a lot of times where I look at resumes and there's either a link and then there's no password to the link or portfolio. So just make sure that it is accessible and include the password along with it, because we get, it's a good thing, but we get thousands and thousands of resumes every season, and sometimes we need to go through resumes. We don't have any like disqualifying program. We don't have any AI like that, so we review resumes one by one. So we do have to go through quite a bit, and if we can't access your profile or your website or portfolio, then there's a very good likelihood that we may just continue on, because we can't spend a whole lot of time asking you for your password. So just make it accessible. It makes it a lot easier for us to review your resume and information. And then the third thing is to include relevant information on your resume. The first thing that we do look for in terms of like internship recruiting is the graduation date. That's like kind of the biggest disqualifying factor. So if we see a graduation date of 2025, unfortunately you're not eligible. If we see that your graduation date is May or June of 2026, unfortunately you're not eligible. So please have your graduation date on the resume. I'll actually show you an example of a resume that got selected to be an intern a couple years ago. So I'll give you an example in just a second. But I think it's really important to specify your graduation date just so we know, if you're qualified or not. And then the fourth thing is to consider your audience and to use clear and concise language that anyone at any level can understand. What we mean by this is that, sometimes you may have like cool jargon with your friends, and maybe you'll put that on describing your project or some of the courses. As recruiters, we don't know that necessarily of that specificity of what you guys are talking about. And again, a lot of people think that EA is like, we are a cool company, but sometimes they're a little lax with how the language comes across. We are a professional organization, and we do like to see that you are professional in your resume. So just make sure that the language is professional and comes out clear and concise with what you're trying to say. The fifth thing is polish and refine. So essentially to organize your resume. We don't care about like a whole bunch of colors or fonts or whatever, just as long as we can read all of the relevant information contained on your resume. And a lot of times, you could have like bolds and different fonts and highlights and stuff. That's great, but at the end of the day, we're just looking at something on a piece of paper that we can actually see that you're qualified for the role. So just organize your resume so it's clear that we can read it, and then we can go from there. And then the sixth thing is to know the role that you're applying for. I understand if you see a whole bunch of internships and you want to apply to all of them because you like all of them, that's awesome. But just make sure you read the job description of the roles that you're applying for. And I'll kind of explain it later down the line in kind of tailoring your resume to the job that you're applying for. I know that's a headache, and I know you guys have heard that before, but I think it is really important to tailor your resume to the role that you're applying for. Maybe you're working on a project that's not so relevant to this role, but it is to another role, but you don't highlight that on this role versus another role. It's just things like that, just little things like that, that I think helps your resume kind of stand out. And again, I'll show you also a sample of a job description, but essentially the job description was crafted by the team or the hiring manager in what the team is looking for. So a lot of the qualifications and responsibilities are what they're looking for, and basically are the questions that they're going to ask you later down the line when they're interviewing you. So make sure you read the job description because it has a lot of important information. All right, again, this is actually a real sample resume. I use this with permission, by the way. It's not like some random person. I know this person. They currently work for Ripple Effect on the Battlefield team as a software engineer, and this resume got them an internship. Ignore USC, ignore the school, but it kind of it's like a book. You read from top down, and I think again the first thing that we do look at, ignore the name. We're not looking at really any names, but as far as the top down, it has all of your information. Top right has your either GitHub ArtStation portfolio link, so it's easily accessible. And the next thing is the education, right? So because that's what kind of speaks to why you're qualified for the role. We want to look at your education. You may hear to put your education last on resumes. Usually you would do that because education generally doesn't matter when you're applying to a job, but right now for internships, so early on in your careers, that's kind of what does matter. So education is important to kind of put at the top, so then we kind of can see top down of what we're looking for. Again, going top down skills, if this person was applying to, I don't know, a gameplay software engineering role and we needed someone with experience in C++, we clearly see that in the skills. And then even further down, they had their projects listed, only a couple projects. I'm sure that wasn't the only projects that they worked on, but kind of things that were related to the role that they were applying for. And then at the bottom, experience of, they've had some work experience, that's awesome, and then their interests at the bottom, which is kind of a nice touch. So. Any questions on that? Any questions on the resume? No? Okay. All right, and now I'm going to get into the application and interview tips. Like I said, every internship, every company, every job is different in terms of how they accept applications and how they interview, but this is kind of generally how we do applications and interviews with EA. But generally, just the general interview process, obviously you have to apply, but then the second thing is phone screen. So whenever you hear phone screen, it's not through phone anymore. So as a recruiter, I call my phone screens my recruiter screens. So whenever you hear phone screens, that's generally like an initial conversation with the recruiter. And generally what I will do is again, qualify you for the role and ask you questions just based on your resume and kind of line things up with what the team is looking for versus what's on your resume. So it's just kind of like an initial conversation, just an introduction to kind of give you an overview of the role, and then also see like where your desires are, where your career interests are, and see if we can match you up with the role and kind of move you along in the interview process. So once we do that, And I will say, so whenever you get a call, it's usually not a call anymore, but an email from a recruiter or the company that you've been invited for a recruiter screen, that's awesome. That's a really good, that's like, I would say congratulations on that, because out of all of the applications that were selected, like the recruiter, whoever was reviewing the resume, really saw like you were qualified for the role, whatever was on your resume. So I think getting a recruiter screen is actually a very good first step, because the person who was looking at it thought you were qualified for the role. So for what that's worth, if you don't make it past the recruiter screen, that's okay. I would just say keep trying, but if you do, that's awesome, because you're qualified for the role in their eyes. And then generally after the phone screen or the recruiter screen is the hiring manager interview. And that is generally a 30-minute introductory phone call with the hiring manager, just so they can align with what their expectations and their plan for the role, and kind of just have a conversation with you again. Just, it's not too long of a call. They don't want to extract every last detail from you. They just want to see, if you are qualified to move along in the next step of the team interview or panel interviews, and that is more extensive. So if everything goes well with the hiring manager interview, we then move you on to the team or panel interview. And for our internships with EA, it's not an extensive panel interview. It's 2 interviews maximum of 2 people per interview. So there's a maximum of 2 hours total of interviews. So it's generally not anything more than that, because interviewing is tough, and we do realize that you guys have school too. So not anything more than 2 hours total of interviews for that final panel. And then the last thing is the offer. So that's the prize. That's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Is you made it through all of these conversations and interviews, and then you made it to receiving an offer, which is quite amazing. Out of all the applications that we get. So, yeah. Any questions on the interview process? Any questions? Nope. All right. Again, this is a sample of a job description that we have used in the past. This is for a concept artist. Again, the responsibilities are, it's 3 bullet points, and we're not looking for anybody that has extensive experience, as the qualifications are only 4 bullet points. And the first thing in the qualifications is that you have your bachelor's degree, or you're pursuing your bachelor's degree, because again, that's what you have to show for so early on in your career. So again, we just want to be sure that you have more of the softer skills than necessarily the hard skills, because the teams can teach a lot of the hard skills. If you don't have necessarily experience like with working with Unreal, but you do with Unity, and you have experience with C+ in Unity, or C# in Unity, or you have experience with Blender, or you don't have experience with Blender, but have experience working with similar software, like those types of things can be taught. Like the technical skills can be taught. We just want you to have a basic understanding and a general background in having some sort of transferable skill related to the internship. I think that's something really important to note. Like a lot of people ask me, like, what do I need to do? In having conversations with hiring managers at this point in internships, it's not about like, what like thing have you produced with this specifically, and how many hours did you work? No, not necessarily. It's just, have you used it in a project? Have you used it in a class? Do you have a general interest in using it and pursuing this career? And that's kind of, at the end of the day, what we're looking for. This is another one of a technical animator. Again, three responsibilities. Kind of really, it is specific, but a little more general than maybe a more senior role. And then the role requirements, this particular team wanted a little bit more from their intern. And again, some teams are looking for a specific thing from their intern, whether that be they want to consider them for a future opportunity for like a full-time role. Other teams, they just want to be able to have someone to mentor to kind of teach and just obviously help them along with what they're doing too as a supplement. But again, it's about the learning experience. And they're not trying to suck like every ounce of like labor out of you. That's not what we're trying to do. Again, this is a learning experience, it's a mentorship experience, and they do want you to succeed. So, all right. Yeah, for those of you who have interviewed before, again, I know it's a really daunting thing to think about, but I just have a couple of things, to kind of prepare for your interview. The first thing is to do your research. I know maybe EA is not so hard to do research on because at some point in your life, I'm sure you've played an EA game or know about us in general. But I would urge you to treat your interviews as an exam. It's really hard. I've done it like where I don't prepare for an interview, then it doesn't go so well because I didn't study. I didn't prepare. So I think it's in your best interest to kind of prepare before your interviews. It just, it does really go a long way. As I'm sure you guys know, if you don't study for an exam, maybe it doesn't go so well. And then the second thing is to study, again, treat it as an exam, to kind of study the job description as a study guide. I mentioned this earlier, but a lot of things on the job description are things that the team is looking for out of hiring this next person. So, and that means that they're going to ask you questions based on this job description. So it kind of gives you like a study guide. I get a lot of like, what can I prepare for? But a lot of the time I say, a lot of things are on the job description. I kind of point them in that direction because some job descriptions are more detailed than others. But a lot of the time, it's all the answers. Well, not all of them, but it will definitely help you to review the job description before you interview. And then the third thing is to practice. I know it kind of may sound silly to practice interviewing with like a friend or a family member or like a professor, but again, it's a muscle. Interviewing is a skill, and for those of you who have interviewed, it is a scary thing to again talk about yourself, try to convince this person that you're talking to that you are qualified or want the job. So I think it's in your best interest to practice interviewing with somebody at some point. And it is a really weird thing to interview via Zoom and not interview like in person. Interviewing on Zoom is rather strange, I will admit, because I only interview people on Zoom, but it's like, I'm just talking to my computer, and I'm sure it's kind of strange on their end too. They're just talking to their computer. So maybe just practice that too. Practice interviewing on Zoom because it is a unique experience. And yeah, again, just the last thing is to remember that it's your experience on how you want to approach interviewing. Again, like I should put a disclaimer on what advice that you want to take from me, but it's if you want to put into it and get out of it what you want equally, and you want to study or do your research or practice, I think it really goes a long way. All right, and these are the kind of the other best practices that I will go through. I'm not necessarily going to read them all word for word, but the first thing is communication. That is, like, I think one of the main components to interviewing is to always be in communication with the interviewer or with your recruiter. There's things in this best practices about accommodations. So like, let's just say you need certain accommodations. We will be more than happy to accommodate you in interviewing because we want you to succeed. As recruiters, we don't not want you to succeed. I think maybe like people think that we want to see like fail and then move on to the next person. Like, we actually want to hire you. And that's why we reach out to you. We want you to succeed. So just let us know what you need in order to be successful in the interviews. Practice your STAR answers. There's another slide after this about STAR answers, but I'll get into that in just a second. The next thing is to take notes. I think it's a really valuable thing in taking notes, in my opinion. I have a horrible memory, so I can't necessarily remember like a question that someone asked me like 30 seconds ago. So it's in my best interest to take notes. I don't know if some of you are like that, but maybe you have a thought as the interviewer is speaking to you, and then it's okay to take notes. Just let them know ahead of time that you are taking notes or typing notes, because otherwise they could maybe assume that you're looking at some AI generating thing. I have experienced that, by the way. It's very strange that someone's eyes are looking away, and you don't want anyone to assume that you're like cheating. So it's okay to take notes. It's okay to let them know that you need to take notes or type something down. And then again, make sure you ask the clarifying questions in case like you aren't privy to what they were asking you. I don't think there's any harm in saying like, hey, like, can you please, I didn't really understand that. Can you kind of rephrase it? That's okay. Like some people interviewers get nervous too, like in interviewing people. So it's okay to ask them to clarify their question, or maybe the connection broke, to ask them to repeat the question. So I think that's very useful too. And then one of the last things is to not shy away from taking someone through your thought process. I think it's valuable in saying like, hey, like that was a good question. Like let me think about it for a second. It's okay to pause. Like I think even me, like I assume someone wants an answer from me immediately. My wife is good at that. Like she wants an answer from me immediately, but then sometimes I'm like, I need to take time to actually think of a well thought out answer. And that's okay. That's okay. Because then it allows you to kind of take them through your approach and what your methods were in reaching a certain conclusion. So I think it's okay to kind of take your time in answering a certain question. And again, the last thing is about accommodations. We kind of discussed that, but kind of, again, goes into gathering your thoughts before asking a question. And take your time. It's okay. I understand that interviewing is nerve-wracking to interview in front of somebody. Even though we try to make it conversational, or the teams do, sometimes it just comes off like literally an interview, because they're asking you questions. But take your time, just try to relax while you're interviewing. All right, and again, this is the STAR method in answering certain situations. So generally in like behavioral interviews, there could be classifications of interviews, like behavioral interview versus like technical. But like in a behavioral interview, usually they ask you questions like, what did you do in XYZ situation, and what was the outcome? And I think when you're interviewing, or you practice interviewing or practice having conversations, I think you just eventually answer questions like the STAR method. So you describe the situation to the person that's asking the question, you explain the task, you provide details on the action that you took, and then you give them the results. I think generally as time goes on, you kind of just naturally answer questions like this. But in thinking about how to answer questions, I think this is kind of a good place to start, because it kind of gives you a guideline of like, describe the situation, describe the task, describe the action you took to achieve the result, and what was the result. All right, and one of the last things after your interview is, I think, a really valuable and kind of a nice touch, just in my opinion. Again, this is following up after the interview. I mean, we don't hold it against you if you don't follow up, but I've heard a lot from hiring managers or teams that it was a nice touch that the person followed up after their interview. I don't usually hear like, oh, they didn't follow up, but it's mostly a plus to follow up. And I think, again, it just kind of reiterates the fact that you are interested in this role, or in the role or the company that you're applying to, rather than like, you may not be so interested in the role, or you may be applying to a million different internships. And while that's okay, I think there's real purpose and value in people seeing that you are interested in the company that you're applying for. Yeah, again, I hear a lot from the feedback from different interviews that maybe the candidate was not interested in the role. They were just interested in like, you know, a next step in their career, and that's awesome. But I think there's real, again, meaning to having an interest in the next company that you're working for, and teams do see that, they feel that. So again, this is just kind of a nice touch after the interview. All right, so let's just say you do land the internship, and congratulations on that. So I'm going to go over what life is like at EA. The first thing is we have different offices in North America. I have not been to all of them. I've only been to the bottom two in Chatsworth and Delray. I've heard the other studios are pretty awesome. Obviously, like Vancouver and the corporate headquarters in Redwood Shores have like football fields or soccer fields. So I've heard they're pretty awesome, and you know, we are trying to push interns being more close to studios and being based out of the studios. But like, let's just say you are actually from the Bay Area or from Orlando or Austin. Like, that is definitely, we will consider you. Unfortunately, we don't offer relocation. So let's just say you're planning on staying in LA for the duration of the summer versus going back to, you know, where you're originally from. Unfortunately, we don't offer relocation, but you know, we will consider you if you do have like a hometown of one of these studios, and they are pretty awesome, I've heard. All right, and the next thing is the intern onboarding experience. So I'm just going to share with you what it was like this past year. This year may be a little different. We are still trying to determine what the internship onboarding week will look like, but this is kind of what has historically happened, and this is this past year. So essentially, the intern onboarding is your first week. It's to make sure you have a exciting and smooth and positive experience on your first week. Usually, there's a lot of I'll get into the next slide, but there's a lot of like ask me anythings with different senior folks around the company. Internship, ask me anythings of previous interns that have gone through the program, and a lot of time to connect with your fellow students. So it's a really cool opportunity that first week to connect and just learn more about EA, and just to, you know, have fun in some events that we have planned. Again, this is kind of an agenda of what to expect. You know, there's panels and workshops. There is leadership presence. There was an Ask Me Anything with Andrew Wilson. He's our CEO. And it was a little strange, like, seeing him, like, not on a town hall, and, like, he was actually, like, interacting with students, and it was really cool because he was there, and he answered, you know, questions from the students. And I've heard that's, you know, one of his favorite things is to kind of connect with the students and connect with the next wave and the next generation of talent. And then, you know, the fun and community aspect. As emerging talent recruiters, we do put on some events, and then you as interns would, you know, connect with the other interns and do fun things as well. This is an actual agenda of what we used this past year. So again, it kind of gives you the overview of the content to expect for that week. Again, the content, learning content on the middle box with the Ask Me Anythings, and learning about the game development cycle and the different studios and the different games that they're working on. And then the last thing is like socialization time and community building with different events. We had an escape room, and then we had like a game show, virtual game show that we hosted. So that was pretty cool. Just some photos of this past year of some of the interns. The top right, like going down in like an backwards L shape, those are the Los Angeles-based interns, and that's the Delray office. That's where, again, the Ripple Effects studio is based out of. The bottom right is the motion capture room, and I don't know if you could see it, but next to the guy with the tan shirt, those are like, it's like a wall of guns, which is like, it was like it's pretty cool to be in there. It's a little bit like, I don't know, it's like intimidating, but you know, they do a lot of motion capture within that room. It's a really cool, and they actually got a demonstration. There was actually a guy in there that was like working, and he's like, oh, just, you know, stand there, and then he showed us on the big screen of like the little dots and, you know, the lines and stuff. But yeah, it was really cool. And then the other pictures are from the interns in Austin. They had a lot of fun too. And then finally, at the end of your internship, we host an intern fair. It's basically a virtual, we set you up with like a virtual like booth or like virtual room that people can come in and out of. And essentially you can like describe your project. We have you create like a little slideshow and then like a short video of kind of like what you've been working on this past summer to kind of showcase what you've been doing. And again, it's a really cool thing to see like all the interns and what they've been working on. And again, it's really impressive. So, all right. I think this is what most of you are here for. This is an internship inquiry form, so we can give you more information on the internships that you know, we can match you up with. It does ask, like, you can attach your resume, and I guess you can't do it on your phone, unless you have a resume on your phone, but you can also send it to yourself. But yeah, it's just basically an intake form so we can get your information and then see what internships that you would be eligible for or what you're interested in, and even beyond that. Again, this is not like a marketing ploy. We actually do want to hire you, so you know, you're not going to receive like spam, maybe some marketing emails, but we're not going to spam you with ridiculous things. So yeah, if you're interested in applying for an internship, that's definitely a form to scan. I'll just put it up for a few more minutes. I think everybody scanned it, but thank you. All right, and this next QR is to my LinkedIn. You guys can add me on LinkedIn. I also put my email though, because unfortunately I get flooded with email or LinkedIn messages. So just email me, and then we can connect that way. I don't know if you guys have any questions for me, but if you're shy or just want to email me, you're more than welcome to email me, and then maybe we can set up like a coffee chat or some sort of connection later down the line. But yeah, just feel free to email me if you want more information. But yeah, email is a lot faster than LinkedIn, but you can always add me on LinkedIn, but just email me if you have any questions. All right, and that's it for the presentation, but you know, I also like to leave time for any Q&A. There are a lot of like similar questions that I usually get in having these discussions, so I kind of threw it up for me to answer already. So I'll leave time for any just on-the-spot questions too, but I think I already answered this, but does EA offer jobs for new grads? The answer is yes. I unfortunately don't have the insight onto like new grad jobs as quickly as maybe you guys would in searching on the jobs website. Us recruiters do talk. We talk about different roles, but generally we have kind of our lane, and we do recruit within that lane. And mine this year or this season is for interns. You're more than welcome to email me if you see anything that you may be interested in or qualified for. If you're preparing to graduate and looking for a job after graduation, that's great. But I don't have like current insight to any new jobs or new grad positions that may be listed on the website, for example. The next thing is, what can I do to help my application stand out? I think I touched on this a little bit, but this is a big question I do get. But I think one of the things is things like this. This is a very good start. Whether you're here just for kicks, like just to hang out, that's awesome. But I think like if you email me or if you connect with me and say, hey, I'm from Woodbury, I came to your presentation, I'm interested in this, I can be like, oh, like, yeah, I actually do know you in person and I can vouch for you. I think that does help your application stand out a little bit rather than, I mean, obviously we do hire people that just apply, cold apply, but making that connection, I think that's a very good first start. The other thing is I get a lot of questions about like how to formulate your portfolio, or sorry, how to like organize your portfolio or resume and the projects. I would say, I don't know if you've taken a picture of the resume, but it is, important to tailor your resume to what the job is asking of. So like, let's just say you have a lot of things in your portfolio, but you only want to like highlight the things that matter according to the job. I would put that directly in your resume, and then we can look at your portfolio or your ArtStation, or hold on one second. Sorry, I'll get to you. But I think it's just things like that in organizing your resume that help your application stand out. That if we do want more information on it, we can go look for it in your portfolio, and we do that all the time. But yes, question. Are you referring to just saying like what? So let's just say you spoke with the recruiter first, and then you made it past the recruiter call and just mentioned that you were here. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, like I don't think I don't think a lot of hiring managers know I'm here anyway. But if they ask, you can tell them. I mean, it's really a matter of like us as recruiters knowing that you're here. I think the hiring managers are less concerned with like you coming to the info sessions. They want to speak with you and see if you they want to have you be part of their team. I don't see anything wrong with that. I just think that if you just mention that to them, I think they would be like, oh, okay, like that was awesome. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just maybe it's not relevant to what they're asking you. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you. All right. One of the next questions I get a lot is, what do the teams look for in hiring new talent? Again, in my presentation, I usually kind of touch on these things, but I think whenever I have conversations and like I have kickoffs or alignment meetings with different teams and hiring managers, they're less, at this level, at internship level, they're less concerned again with like the technical skills or the hard skills. They want to know if you are coachable and if you're adaptable and you're a good problem solver or a good teammate. Again, you kind of can't really express that necessarily in your resume, but sort of. So like, let's just say you worked on a group project and you were like one of the team leads and you worked on XYZ part of the project. I think that kind of shows us the soft skills within your resume. But then when you get to the interviews, they're going to ask you, any relevant background information on like the role itself. But they're going to ask you a lot of soft skill type questions, like let's just say, how did you approach a certain situation? How did you collaborate in a certain situation? How did you respond to an ambiguous situation? Just things like that. I think like at this level, that's kind of what they're looking for. They're not looking for somebody so polished. They're looking for somebody who can grow with the team and with the company. And yeah, thank you. I'll leave. Thank you for listening. Sorry if I'm boring, but thank you for coming. I'll leave a little bit of time for any questions. We do have pizza in the back, so for those of you who just came for the pizza, it is here. But yeah, any questions? Any questions? I don't know if we can take questions online, but I'll go in the front row here. Hi.
Say again, thank you for coming out.
Yes.
Thank you again for coming out. Especially this whole interview process, as you highlighted, is very daunting. I'm just a sophomore student, so I guess that's saying something maybe. But I just had a question in regards to you were mentioning the sort of the hard skills, if you will, when it comes to training and you start ramping up
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm referring to in having like the transferable skills. Like obviously nobody's gonna come into an internship knowing Frostbite because that's a proprietary engine that they work in. But it's just like, do you have background working within some sort of game engine with Unity, Unreal, that they can teach you Frostbite if it comes down to that. So it's just things like that. Can they determine, and I mean the interview teams and the hiring manager, can they determine if the transferable skills that you have now, or if the skills that you have now can transfer to what they're going to ask of you? But yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Yes, also thank you for coming out.
Yeah, of course.
When the applications for the internship open and close, and if there's any sort of, like, if it's better to apply early or later, or if it's all kind of the same.
Yeah, I would say, well, the application window is technically open now. Some of the roles are not completely open quite yet, but expect for them to be open by the end of October. I'm still working with hiring managers and teams to kind of like get the process moving because, yeah, everyone's really busy. Like all the teams are really busy. They're in different stages of the development cycle, but yeah, we expect to have most of the internships posted by the end of the month. And it is better to apply early because once applications start rolling in, we'll review them on a rolling basis, and our applications technically close in March. That's what the internship hiring deadline is for EA. But it is important to apply early. Again, I do urge you take it upon yourself to look at the careers website periodically. I think that's really important because maybe you'll see something faster than I will. Again, I'm responsible for kind of like a lane of internships, but maybe there's something else that you're qualified for or that you're more interested in. But yeah, apply early is always the best, in my opinion, the best way of applying. Yep.
What would you say is the recommended distance for the office? Because I live in San Jose, so it's about 20 miles, so like a 40-minute drive. You say give or take.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have like a hard distance. I mean, technically, you do fall, we have this map, and if you fall outside of it, that's not a reasonable commute. But yeah, there's a lot of people that actually live in San Jose that work in the Redwood City office. Cause LA is tough too, because there's people that live in Orange County that go to Chatsworth, which is really far. But yeah, we will evaluate that. Let's just say you live 50 miles away, which people do live and work 50 miles apart, and you're willing to do that. That's okay, but it's the commuting is tough. But there's not necessarily a commute, a mileage distance that we will disqualify you for. So, but San Jose is technically in commutable distance. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you go back to slide 4?
Okay, yeah.
I really need it.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks so much for coming. Do you have would there be any references or resources online for portfolios that have been accepted, or what we should be putting in our portfolios that would, look good?
EA sponsored, EA approved ones, I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure a good Google search could serve you well in what, but I'll tell you what, you're talking about what's on your portfolio, right? It does depend on the position that you're applying for, but a lot of the time let's just say you're interested in like concept art, for example, and they're maybe looking for somebody who has more pieces in like character art versus like environment art versus like hard surface things. So I would, again, like I was saying, like in your resume under like projects, for the role that you're applying for is to put those projects that are applicable to that role that you're applying for. And again, like the job description will specify, let's just say if it's more environment based. And then if you have anything environment based, you can put it on the projects or kind of highlight that on your resume, and then they'll go look for it in your portfolio. But as far as what a good portfolio looks like the whole thing, I would say a lot of like when I send along portfolios, the teams are really impressed with like finished things, and they're also impressed with like the process that it took you to get there. So like from conception all the way to like something that's finished. It kind of takes them through like your process in doing so. But yeah, as far as having like what a good portfolio looks like, I guess it would depend on what the position that you're applying for is.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hopefully that answered your question. I know that was kind of vague, but
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Hi. Also, first of all, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. My question might be related to Scott's question. How substantial should our resumes and portfolios should be? Like, how much detail should we add in our underneath like projects, for example, or how much projects should we add in our essay workstation? Like anything spanning from all the classes we've taken, the projects we've done, the courses we've taken.
Yeah. I mean, within your ArtStation, I think you should have as much in there as possible. Maybe organized in a way that's easily accessible for people like us as recruiters to like see what you're maybe talking about on your resume. But as far as like, there's no clear number. I can't give you a number of projects to put. I think, again, it goes back to like what relevant projects are, or what are the relevant projects that you've done in relation to the internship into the role. So yeah, it's hard to say like a number of projects. I would say, again, like you probably here to keep your resume fairly brief. Maybe not list literally all your projects if you have a ton of them, but maybe ones that are most relevant to the role that you're applying for.
I see. And spanning from different, like if we were to add many projects to our different courses, should we worry or should we add in the most recent ones instead of like every single one? Because one project might be different quality, like, oh, this project we done in the course, I don't know, 2-3 years ago is different from the one that's like very recent.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would say, because if you think about it, like every year, like you get stronger as an artist or whatever domain you are or you want to go into. So yeah, I would say like to list your strongest project first rather than like maybe something that maybe is unfinished or you're not so proud of, because those types of things stand out. And like if we see that as your first project, we'll see like, oh hey, like I'm gonna go in your ArtStation, your portfolio, and look at it. And if that's like the first thing that we see and we're really impressed by it, I think that stands out. So yeah, that's a good question.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I did take like many other, because I'm a transfer student, back in my previous college, I pretty much worked in Center 4D, working on projects, and then coming here now, I learned a lot more. So I was wondering if I could also include some of the projects from the previous campus alongside the more recent ones from this campus.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If they're definitely related to what the role is asking, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For
Thank you
sure.
very much.
Yeah, of course. Just want to be mindful of time. Sorry. Okay, maybe a couple more questions. Maybe 2 more questions.
Hello, my name is Rob.
Hi, Rob.
I have a question for you. So this isn't related to any like portfolio or resume, but because you are EA, when you do your like your base captures and all that, do you actually get to meet any of the people that you capture? So like for sports, do you get to meet any of those people, or like or is it like if y'all do like I know for certain games like you substitute with a person that has like that knows basketball skills, but they won't be an actual basketball player or like a football player
Uh-huh.
in that aspect. Like if there is a person you met, who's the person you met?
Is there a person that I've met that they actually use within the game? No. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't work with talent like that. I don't like hire talent like that or work with like any schools or any yeah, organizations like that do that. Those are more for like the development side. Yeah, unfortunately I wish, but yeah, I haven't met any cool people like that. Sorry. Cool. Maybe last question. Hi.
My name is Norma. Thank you again for coming. I wanted to know, when it comes to like the internships, how many roughly are accepted?
Ooh, that's a good. So total we have, I don't know the exact number this year, but it's like over 200 and something internships worldwide. For the LA area, it's really condensed. It's less than 10. This year it's going to be less than 10. Collectively though, like I work with another internship recruiter who work on just the entertainment portfolio. So that's like, you know, the FPS, the Respawn Studios, like the Ripple Effect, Battlefield, like just those ones. There's like almost 70, but they are based. They are only in North America, so they're in Canada and the United States. So collectively within EA Entertainment, there's like almost 70, but with LA specifically, there's less than 10. So to kind of give you a bigger picture, like we do have a lot of internships. It's just like it does depend on location because some teams are looking for interns in specifically Vancouver or specifically Austin or specifically LA or Redwood City because the team is based there. So that's kind of why the location does matter. Because there needs to be a presence of people like to be with the intern. So yeah, we have a lot of internships. It's just, it is location dependent. Yeah.
To kind of follow it up with that question, do you guys ever take anybody directly from an internship after, like completely hired?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I guess I didn't specify or clarify, but yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal of hiring interns. At the end of the day, they do want to be able to hire an intern. Like, again, there are different reasons for hiring an intern, but if the teams like are approaching like, you know, determining their headcount or like the financial, you know, the financial aspect of budget comes into it and they want to bring on somebody additional and like the intern is already there, they want to do that because obviously interns have like knowledge of EA and how the processes work. So that's a goal of the teams is to like, it's called conversion into a full-time role. And yeah, it does happen every year. But it is dependent on, again, like the financials of it. If there's headcount, there's budget on the team. But that is definitely something that happens every year. Also, your graduation has to align. Because like, let's just say you're like a second year. They're not going to like offer you a full-time role like 3 years from now. Usually it's like you graduate shortly after the internship is done.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, thank you again, guys, everybody for listening. Hopefully you learned a lot. But yeah, for those of you who filled out the intake form, you know, we'll do our best to match you up with things that are applicable to you as far as the internships. You know, it has all those things that what you're interested in, what your year is. And again, if you want to connect with me,